Hey there, guys. We're going to wrap up Algebra 2, Chapter 1 so far. Maybe this will help. We're going to wrap up Algebra 2, Chapter 1 with a quick review of absolute value equations, moving to inequalities, and then I'm going to show you the difference between the Algebra 1 and the Algebra 2. Okay, so hold on to your seat here. I'm going to try and go a little bit faster in the beginning because hopefully this is a review. Remember, if you do have the absolute value, we want to get it all by itself, and then it is equal to some number. What we do from here is we're going to write out our two equations. So negative 3x equals 18, and negative 3x could also be equal to negative 18, because that's our definition of absolute value, is the distance from 0. So that means whatever happened inside of these absolute values had to turn out to be 18 or negative 18. So if nobody stopped and told you why that works, that's why that works. But know that you're always going to have two equations or inequalities for this. Divide by negative 3, and this is why I set both of them up, is the steps are the same. So x equals negative 6 and x equals positive 6 as we look at it. Remember, your answers will not always be opposites of each other, but we may run into that in the first couple examples here. All right, next one we have is basically the same thing. So we know it's going to be 5y equals 35 and 5y equals, what was it? Negative 35. Divide by 5 all over the place. Again, this is why I like to set them both up, because your steps are the same even though the result is not, hey, that's not a 5, that's a 7. And you are not a 7, you're a negative 7. Okay, not you. Okay. All right. So the next one is still kind of in that Algebra 1 phase. You're going to have, I'm going to change this to an x just so we don't get confused. So x plus 5 equals 8, along with x plus 5 equals negative 8. So make sure the thing that you are changing the sign on is only the other one. I've come across some Algebra 1 students that try and make it x minus 5. That's a big no-no. All right, we only want to change what it's equal to. So we're going to subtract 5 from all of these. So still one-steppers just like the other one. So x equals 3 and x equals negative 13. So we would plug those in if we wanted to get 8 out of both of these. All right, one thing, depending on who you had for Algebra 1 or what level you had, we're going to throw some extra stuff in there. Like how I say that, extra stuff in there. And what I mean is the absolute value is not alone yet. It's being multiplied by 3. So what I want to do is divide by 3 to get rid of it. That way we have, again, I'm going to change it to x plus 7, absolute value equals 4. So step number 1 is always get the absolute value alone. And then you're going to write your two equations the way you were doing in the previous examples, which you probably could have done in Algebra 1. So I get x plus 7 equals 4, and x plus 7 equals negative 4. I like to put a squiggly line in there to remind myself that I don't want to write too much on one side or the other. Minus 7, minus 7, minus 7, minus 7. X equals negative 3. That's step number 1. X equals negative 11. And that's answer number 2. Not too shabby. All right, so we'll do one more of these, and then I'll skip over and get you to the Algebra 2 stuff. That's what you came in for. All right, remember, anything that is extra from the absolute value, we have to get rid of that first. So goodbye 5. So 4 minus 2y is now in the absolute value all alone equals 4. Okie dokie. Now we're ready to set up our two equations. 4 minus 2y equals 4. 4 minus 2y equals negative 4. We're going to subtract 4 first this time. So we have negative 2y equals 8, and negative 2y equals negative 8. Oh, that wasn't 8 over here, was it? I missed that negative sign. So 4 minus 4 is going to be 0. There we go. Divide by negative 2, which seems like a pointless step here on the left. So y turns out to be 0. And on the right, y turns out to be positive 4. All right, so just be careful with those signs, just like I did over here. Clean those up a little bit. So thanks for hanging with me on that one. All right, so that's your Algebra 1 review. Okay, maybe it was a step up based on getting the absolute value alone. Maybe it was, depends on how things went last year. All right, so this is now Algebra 2. All right, so remember the idea is the absolute value is alone. Is it alone? You bet you. Here it is. Okay, it's already alone. So there's nothing extra I have to do there. But think about what's happening in all of these problems up here. I took 4, I used 4, and I used -4. Well, it wasn't just -4, was it? It was -1 times 4. So if we can put that thought process in here, then you're not really doing anything different. Your problems just get a little bit bigger mathematically. Yeah, so that sets the stage for what we have to do in this one. I want x plus 5, same thing, equals 3x minus 7. First equation. Not too bad. We've seen stuff like that. Clean up that plus sign. X plus 5 equals -1 times 3x minus 7. So that's the only difference. We do have variables on both sides, so obviously these are going to take a little more time to solve. So I'm going to subtract x. So I have 5 equals 2x minus 7. When I get to this and I have variables on both sides, I probably am going to just solve one side and then the other. So when you say, well, why didn't you do the first step over there? Notice my solving is going to be a little bit different. So we'll handle that in just a moment. From here, we're going to add the 7. So we have 2x equals your 12 and divide by 2. So x equals 6. Let's get the other side now. Distribute. Now, if I could just divide, if it was something like these were all negative on the left, I might think about dividing it out, but here I'm just going to go ahead and distribute. So x plus 5 equals -3x plus 7. Make sure you change that sign. At this point, instead of subtracting x, I probably want to add 3x. Right? We try and stay positive when we can, especially these days. While I'm doing that, I'm going to subtract the 5 to get 2. So we can divide by 4. All right, make sure we're getting 1/2 or 0.5. Remember, I'll take either one. Your fraction has to be reduced. Your decimal can be a decimal. I don't know where I was going with that. All right, it's getting to be a long day, I think. All right, I seem to like that purple color a whole bunch. I don't think it matters to you guys, but let's go with some green. It's my son's favorite color. All right, so absolute value alone. Remember, that's always the first step we want to look at. The 8 dot is just problem number 8, even though this isn't the 8th one. It just feels like it, right? Oh. Okay, I'll shut up. So 2x minus 3 equals 3x minus 2. Notice again, I'm not going to use t's because they look like plus signs. It just confuses me. If you can do it, great. I will never mark it wrong if you change those variables out. 2x minus 3 equals, what do I have to do? -1 times 3x minus 2. So we squeeze that -1 in there, and then we're good to go. So that gives us our setup. So we'll go ahead and solve. I might subtract 2x here while I add 2 to this side. So I will get 1x, or just x, and over here I will get -1. Look at that, variables from both sides. If you have to do that in 2 steps, that's fine. It's still early in the year, right? Last year was kind of weird. So let's deal with it one step at a time. -3x plus 2. That's a 2x. I was reading the second part before I started writing there, or writing before I read it. Either way. All right, now I might add 3x. I'm going to add 3x. While I'm doing that, since I'm moving the x's to the left, I want to add 3 to the right. So now I have 5x equals 5. And we know we're going to divide by 5. So x turns out to be 1. All right, so that is your new Algebra 2 part of it. Those are the things we're going to add on and have to deal with in Algebra 2. It looks like we're going to go back to some review here. So I'm going to stop the video there. Remember, the big key is your Algebra 2 problem is variables on both sides. So how we handle that is we just take what it is and put a -1 in front of it just to review. All right, I'll see you in class.